ولقد يسرنا القرآن للذكر فهل من مدكر.
Certainly, we have made the Quran simple for the sake of admonishment. So, is there anyone who will be admonished? Path towards enlightenment. In the name of God, the Merciful, the Compassionate. Salam and welcome to another weekly program, Path Towards Enlightenment. We start from where we left you, and here are ayahs 15 and 16 of Surah Naml.
ولقد آتينا داود وسليمان علما وقال الحمد لله الذي فضلنا على كثير من عباده المؤمنين. وورث سليمان داود وقال يا أيها الناس علمنا منطق الطير وأوتينا من كل شيء إن هذا لهو الفضل المبين.
Certainly we gave David and Solomon knowledge, and they said, all praise belongs to Allah, who granted us an advantage over many of his faithful servants. Solomon inherited from David, and he said, O people, we have been taught the speech of the birds, and we have been given out of everything. Indeed, this is a manifest advantage. Here, God informs us about Prophet David and his son, Prophet Solomon, who were both given the power to rule the country as kings of the monotheist Israelites and to establish an administrative system based on justice. It is clear that both father and son were granted knowledge and wisdom by God as advantage over the rest of the people of their times. As the next ayah means to inform us, Solomon, who inherited the kingdom of his father, was also inspired to understand and speak the language of birds and animals as a form of distinct power granted to him over everything, including the invisible creatures called jinns or genies, who obeyed their orders. This was all manifest proof of God's power and mercy. From these ayahs we learn that the source of knowledge and wisdom of the prophets is God the Almighty Creator. There is no separation between religion and administration of the state, as is the case of David and Solomon, who, besides being entrusted with prophethood, were granted power to rule country and establish administration based on justice in order to protect the people against corruption and aggression of the oppressors. And we should always be thankful to God for having showered us with His mercy, including knowledge and prudence, to sift truth from falsehood, instead of being proud and negligent of spiritual issues. Now we listen to ayahs 17 and 18 of Surah Naml.
وحشر لسليمان جنوده من الجن والإنس والطير فهم يوزعون حتى إذا أتوا على واد النمل قالت نملة يا أيها النمل ادخلوا مساكنكم لا يحطمنكم سليمان وجنوده وهم لا يشعرون.
Solomon's hosts were marched out for him, comprising jinn, humans, and birds, and they were held in check. When they came to the valley of ants, An ant said, O ants, enter your dwellings, lest Solomon and his hosts should trample on you while they are unaware. These ayahs refer to one of the main factors of running an efficient government and administration, namely the army, and since God had granted Solomon power over everything, his army consisted of not just human beings but also a number of jinn. In addition, birds were at the service of Solomon, and as soldiers with feathers were ready to confront the enemies if given orders. Once, while Solomon and his army were marching, they entered a valley where there were many ant hills. Since God had given Solomon the ability to hear, understand, and speak the language of all creatures, he overheard an ant telling the others to be careful and go inside their dwellings in the earth, lest this army would trample them without knowing what they were doing. From these ayahs we learn that God has made the human being the best of all creatures with power to control them through intellect. An able and efficient government requires order, discipline, military power, and judicial use of resources to safeguard internal security and guard against outside threats. Animals and insects understand harm and dangers to them and consequently warn each other to keep out of the harm's way. And the chosen of God do not even harm an ant unintentionally. Now we listen to Ayah 19 of Surah Naml.
فتبسم ضاحكا من قولها وقال رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأدخلني برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين.
Whereat he smiled, amused at its words, and he said, My Lord, inspire me to give thanks for your blessing with which you have blessed me and my parents, and that I may do righteous deeds which may please you, and admit me by your mercy among your righteous servants. Solomon, on hearing the ant's warning to its companions, smiled and thanked God for having granted him the power to understand the language of animals, birds, and insects, and also felt grateful for the Almighty's blessings for him and his parents. Despite being a prophet and a king, he was humble in the divine court for having granted the power to know all things and abstain from harming even seemingly insignificant creatures. He then prayed to God to help him properly discharge the duties entrusted to him, further guide him to perform righteous deeds that may please the all-merciful Creator and make him among his righteous servants. This ayah teaches us the following points. One of the characteristics of wise leadership and proper management of the society is tolerance, which means the leader should listen to opinions and views of others, however critical, in order to analyze them for providing the right solutions instead of silencing them with power. Here, Solomon listens to the ant's words and appreciates them through smiling and thanksgiving. The expression of gratitude to God for his blessings is not merely made by tongue, but by action and performing of good deeds. And what is important is to win the content of God and not seek personal fame.